All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Dr. Christopher Shintambar. He is the emeritus professor at the Medical College of Wisconsin and also with Imaging Biometrics. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, excited to learn a little bit more about what's been going on in your phase one clinical trial. And we're going to discuss a little bit about your team and your staff and also about the results as well. So first off, tell us a little bit about the team.
Really happy to do so, and thank you for the invitation. So this is a very exciting study that I'm going to talk about in a minute regarding treatment of brain tumors, refractory glioblastoma brain tumor that we're embarking on. But before I get into that, I'd like to give a big acknowledgement and shout out to the team. This is not certainly a 1 or 2 person team, but this is a large team. And first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Larry Bernstein, who is in fact the person who developed the compound, the gallium maltolate. He is a PhD chemist, and so we have been colleagues and for quite a long time, and friends and colleagues. So the other team is my colleague who works in the clinic, Dr. Jennifer Connolly, who is the PI on this as a neuro-oncologist. And then the numerous other people that contribute to this with our team, our clinical team, the people who are in there helping us keep track of the data and work. And lastly, I really would like to acknowledge the strong support of IQAI as the sponsor of this trial. So we're very happy to be here and be able to talk about the trial. So this is actually, the disease itself is glioblastoma, which is a deadly brain tumor. Patients, all one needs to do is just look and search, and you'd find that this is a brain tumor that is dire prognosis. You have patients that develop it, and even with the aggressive treatment that we've had, which has been standard for many years, and there's been a shortcoming and a great need to develop new treatments, most patients who develop brain tumor like this have a very short life expectancy, even after surgery and radiation and a form of chemotherapy, oral chemotherapy that they take for many months to a year. And despite this, the majority of patients will have a relapse, and with a median time within a year. So there's a great need to develop new compounds to try to, and there has been slow progress on this, even though many compounds have tried. It's not, there's a great need, continues. So this protocol is entitled a phase 1 trial of gallium maltolate for the treatment of patients with relapsed or recurrent glioblastoma. The study itself originated out of collaborative work in my laboratory and colleagues, and we serendipitously discovered that gallium compounds that I'd been working on for many years in another disease had activity against glioblastoma in preclinical models. The drug acts uniquely, very different from standard chemotherapy, and what we have is an oral formulation that in preclinical work shrinks tumors in animals, specifically our rat brain tumor model, and actually prolongs their survival. So we have two things. When on the backbone of this, we decided that it was time to test this in patients. There had been some preliminary testing 20 plus years ago just to see if patients tolerated it. So we came up with a clinical protocol for a phase 1 trial. What the phase 1 trial involves is using different doses of the drug, starting with a lower dose and going up to try to determine what would be the tolerated dose. Now, we assess our patients not just for side effects, but we have to do MRs of the brain too, and we're seeing some interesting signals in that as well that give us really a deep sense of optimism For example, we have patients, normally the study involves our patients taking a dose of the drug, which is predetermined by the protocol, for a minimum of 2 months. We assess the side effects of the drug, and it's been very well tolerated. And then after 2 months, we want to make sure that that patients aren't progressing. So we do scan them and brain MRs. And normally this is a disease. What historically, if you look back and say, well, how long do patients, what is the expectancy of for progression in a patient who has a recurrent glioblastoma?
Right.
And historically, the survival is, or the progression-free survival is 1 to 6 months. So that tells you how bad the situation really is. And maybe with some of the newer agents, you can push it out longer than that by maybe 1 to 3 months. So a very dire situation indeed. We are very heartened to see that we have one patient who is well out beyond a year, unexpected, and she's doing beautifully. Another patient who is actually beyond the 6 months patient, that 6 month period, and some others. So some of the patients have gone beyond the anticipated 180 days. So while we cannot say, oh, we have this is it, we have to be very cautious in interpreting, because these are all patients who have had recurrence and a variety, a mixture of groups. Those kinds of conclusions,
Yeah.
based on a phase 2 trial, which certainly we hope to be able to get into once we have completed our phase 1 trial. We are getting there, have a few more patients to go, and confirm that the dose that we're at is in fact a safely tolerated, well tolerated. And I can say that to this point, patients, this is oral. They take the
Yeah.
capsule once a day.
Okay. I know that you're going to have hope to have full results of this phase 1 study in 2025. But that said, you are still working on what a phase 2 would look like. So that's obviously important, because you're looking to access, fast tracking through the FDA. There's a lot of steps that you're looking to take.
Exactly, exactly. The phase 2 trial will look like, one of the objectives of the phase 1 is to establish what we call a recommended phase 2 dose. And that's an important thing, because right now we're just going up with increasing doses to say, okay, which one is best tolerated. In the phase 2 trial, we will fix the dose and say patients are to take these many milligrams, X number of milligrams of the drug, and we will expand the study to more than just our institution, to other interested centers in our area and beyond, to see, we get more patients. It requires more statistical power, and we treat, and then we will come up and say, this drug has activity. How much activity does it have? In which kinds of patients with recurrent glioblastoma? We'll be able to dissect it out specifically and make recommendations.
Well, I know it's a super important work that you're doing, sir, and really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for updating us on what's going on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there is Dr. Christopher Shintamber. He is the Emeritus Professor at the Medical College of Wisconsin and Imaging Biometrics.